everyone. Welcome officially to our event, Everything Remote. Basically, I'm just going to be taking us through, first of all, welcoming us to this event and taking us through the program of the day and just a bit about TOC, then we'll dive straight into it. We are looking at this event being approximately 2 hours, right? We are also streaming on YouTube. So we should, I think the YouTube link will be sent. So if you have anyone outside that is willing to, that wants to join this session, as the session is going on, we can definitely send the link to the person to join us, or the youth or the Zoom link. We are starting. Please can the screen be up now? Yeah, thank you. Okay, so for today's program of the day, we are just going to, from the welcome address, which I just did, and to who we are at their community. Then we'll dive straight into introduction of the speakers for today. Then we'll move to the panel discussion and a bit of icebreaker in between. Then we'll move to the second session, which are other questions that were sent in by the participants. Then we'll have a bit of live Q&A session. Then we'll round up for today. Yeah. So basically, who are we at our community? There's this slang that we always say that it is not just the community, right? It's not just your community. It's not just my community. It is our community. So it's a group of inclusive young professional group dedicated towards the growth of other young professionals, right? Basically, that's what their community is all about. And how do we do this? Ensure that every other young professional out there grow or be the best version of themselves is by having like our email community, whereby we send weekly resources, information to you. And another thing that we do is have quarterly events, which is the one that you are benefiting from today, right? This is one of our quarterly events. And another thing that we do is also share stories of top professionals. So if you go to our YouTube page right now, you see some stories. 2 editions has been released there, so you can do well to catch up there. Then also recently we released our resources for you section, where we just, it's like a one-stop shop to all your resources. You have job opportunities there, scholarship, trainings, events. We realize that we always have this information. There is information is out there, right? But it's always scattered. So we decided to come together or bring these resources for you section that has everything together. So it's released weekly on our LinkedIn page. So I think the LinkedIn page will be dropped on the chat box. So if you are there, ensure that you subscribe to, or if you feel like it's something that will be useful to you, ensure that you subscribe to that resources for you, and ensure that you also follow us on LinkedIn and Instagram, so you don't miss some of all that juicy content that we'll be putting out there for you. So and the last thing that we also do is to have like an inclusive Telegram group, right? We want to be closer to you. It's still a growing group. That's like more or less like our recent projects that we are working on. So that's what basically the Telegram group is all about. We just want to be closer to you. So when we have immediate information, we share to that Telegram group. So yeah, we can move forward. You will say that, who is this girl that I've been talking? So my name is Abisola Adeniji, and you can say the founder, but honestly, I really don't like that word, because TOC is being bettered, or you can see that it is working with other 38 members that work behind the scene that you may not see, or some of them you can see them in the chat box welcoming you and all. So that's how TOC was bettered, or how it is even being how it has been functioning. So we are building their community with you and for you. It's more or less like an inner house slang. Yeah. So moving on, I'm going to be handing over. This session will not be hosted by me. It will be hosted by one of us. I mentioned 38 other members in-house, and one of them is the one that will be hosting this session, Kemi Abiodun. and she works with our strategy and operations department, and she also works with the research and strategy unit of a merchant bank. So join me, guys, to welcome Kemi Abiodun to take us through this session. I was thinking I'll see some excitement in the chat box, but I'm not seeing excitement though. Kemi Abiodun, you have the floor.
Thank you, Abisola. Good morning, everyone. I'm excited to meet all of us here, and I hope we're all excited to learn and get new insights as we go through the program. So first, we'll be starting by introducing our speakers. So we have 5 speakers for today, 5 wonderful speakers from all walks of life. I'll be talking to us, and we'll be sharing questions and all of that to be able to get more insights on what do we need to know about remote and all of that. So first, we have Femi Webanju. Next slide, please. So Femi he has 7 years experience in data. He's also an artificial intelligence automation and software delivery, delivering cutting-edge solutions for top government bodies. He's also a former analyst and lead at Muritala Mohammed Airport 2. He was also a former analyst at Konga Group, formerly a senior business analyst, and now is a digital product manager at Venture Garden Group, which is a digital group for financial and data technology companies. So Femi is also a data analyst session lead at Kuda City Tutoring and mentoring thousands of data analysts globally. He has facilitated several AI, digital transformation, and data analytics courses with top training companies, including TechOga, Aug School, Garden Academy, Coven Work Incorporation, amongst others. Femi is also a committee lead at Global AI Group, and is highly committed to building the next generation of technology leaders. We are welcome to have you. Welcome to have you here, Femi Webanju. Next slide, please. Next, we have Ashley Taang. Ashley is an investment analyst at International Finance Corporation, and she has over 5 years experience. She previously consulted for the African Development Bank as a data and financial analyst. She has an educational background in economics and finance. She is experienced in data and financial analysis and has demonstrated history of working in the international and private community. She's skilled in financial analysis, Excel, data, statistical data analysis and management, economic data analysis, RAP, and econometric techniques. She has strong economic and finance professional with an MSc focused in banking and finance from University de Rennes, and which is focused in economics and financial engineering, and also focused in economics and financial engineering from University de Yaoundé too. Next slide, please. Next, we have Ibukun Femi Ajala. He is an advocate of remote work in tech sales with experience working for several multinationals like Microsoft, LG, Bolt, and currently remote, where he has been valuable to the growth and expansion across Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Ibukun finished from the University of Lagos as a computer scientist, and he has a passion to contribute to society through humanitarian efforts, mentoring, and training, while caring and loving for his amazing 4-legged friend, Memo. Before joining Remote, he worked with Bolt as a business sales development manager. In summary, he loves helping companies focus on scaling quickly and internationally without stressing on the challenges that come with hiring. Next slide. Next, we have Adejumobi Agunloye. She's a freelance content writer with 5 years of experience working with several brands, businesses, and organizations, including NGOs. Adejumobi specializes in content marketing and brand storytelling. Her emotive and passion writing styles make her a distinct voice in this area. She's passionate about volunteering, art, education, and sunglasses. When she's not working, you can find her writing a to-do list, reading, learning new words, listening to music, or playing Bible words puzzles. Lastly, we have Mary Boniface, aka Savvy Content Writer. She's a content writer, SEO expert, and a content consultant. As a content writer, she has received several awards and recognition, like the Content Writer of the Year 2021 award by the Freelance Writing Award, and has featured on several publications. She's the lead writer at True Writers Consult, a writing consultancy firm where she spearheads a team of skilled creatives in delivering fully optimized SEO content and helping businesses all over the globe establish their presence online with content that will keep your audience engaged, increase leads, and skyrocket sales. With her skills, she has helped numerous brands and businesses increase their sales and visibility through written words, having achieved phenomenal results. As a content writer and consultant, she now coaches others on how to be good at content writing, earn from it, and earn from it. So far, she has trained hundreds of people to become top-rated content writers. So that's you can see that we have a fully loaded team that's going to be speaking to us all from different walks of life, from content writing to economics to finance and all of that. So it is going to be a really full session. So first, we're going to be heading to our first panel discussion, where we'll be asking a series of questions to our speakers rather. So first of all, the first question that we have is, I would like to be directing this question to Ashi. So like being that you work at IFC, which is, and also I've worked at AFB, which is like international brand, I'd like to ask, like, how has it been for you to handle trust issues of foreign? Okay, sorry, I'm trying to. This wouldn't be going to Ashley. Sorry, I'll say I'll be sending this to So I'd like to ask, how has it been handling trust issues of foreign companies while applying for remote jobs from Nigerians?
Is this question for me?
Sorry, I made a mistake. I was trying to send that to Ibukun, please. Sorry, Ibukun, please, could you kindly answer this question? Being that you're Nigerian, you're working in tech space and also remotely as a remote brand, how has it been handling trust issues of foreign companies while applying to remote jobs in Nigeria?
Hi, everyone. Good morning. Okay, so you caught me by surprise there. So maybe you can just help me clarify. It's a bit vague. Okay.
So now we know that in Nigeria, we have this, Nigerians have this outlook. Okay, people don't trust Nigerians generally. They hear Nigerian and you hear the joke of, oh, the Nigerian prince, scammers and all of that. So it shows that our integrity is significantly very underrated outside the Nigerian space. And be that you work internationally, basically. Mm-hmm. How has it been handling trust issues from foreign companies and actually hiring Nigerians into their workspace? How has it been for you generally?
Okay, thank you for the question. So with regards to trust, I would just let you know, it depends on the company you apply to. So if you're applying to a company in the US or in the UK, for example, I would tell you for certain that such issues don't come into play, right? When you have your experience, you have your skills, and you've worked with reputable companies, right? Because of that, the trust will follow. And for people still upcoming in their own field, I would just advise that you make yourself more visible, build a brand. You know, the brand is very key. And how do you build a brand? It's simple. Focus on some platforms like LinkedIn. It's important that in doing that, you share posts about what you're passionate about. For me, as an example, I'm passionate about the Rubik's Cube, right? So I have a where I share that with fellow Cubers right, who want to solve that. And trust me, if a company is looking for someone, to train or to help build the brain power, they would refer to me. So I would not like to think of it in a way that you are at a disadvantage because you are coming from Nigeria. But I would tell you that the Nigerian term, sadly, is a disadvantage to multinationals. And why is that so?
Yeah.
Simply because they don't have that capability to hire from Nigeria. Remote, for example, where I currently work, what we do is we provide like an employer of record service to companies who are looking to expand globally. And from my experience working remote, I can tell you for certain that there's an increase in number of hires in Nigeria, in Kenya, in South Africa, right?
Okay.
And why is this so? Is because they found the relevant skills, right? They found the individuals who are able to, to take their company and build growth. So I would definitely disagree that the trust factor is there. And like I said, you have to be strategic about the type of companies you apply to. What type of companies do you go for? In what industry? For example, if you are working in human resource in an electronics company, for example, and you want to switch to tech, which is always advisable, you can still find an HR role in tech. If you're in operations working for an FMCG and you want to switch to tech, you can still find an operations role in tech. So what you need to sell is not really the job. For example, if you're a bank manager and you're trying to get into remote, I would tell you for certain you would not get in. If your whole focus is about, I'm a bank manager, I've led a group of people, nobody cares about that, right? Okay. And there's this concept in Nigeria or in Africa that the way you build your CV should be around, okay, my education, my family, all those things. They don't care about that. It's the work experience, it's the skills that you're bringing to the job. So I tell you for certain, if you take time in building yourself 1% every day, right, it could be learning something new, you would definitely land the right job, and the trust factor would not be an issue when you converse with the recruiter.
Thank you very much, Ibukun. So from what Ibukun has said, we can see that even though we feel like in Nigeria, we don't have the integrity and many people think that we are scams and all of that, it shows that that really isn't a factor. If you have the right skills and knowledge, you would get any job internationally, be it Google, be it Microsoft, right from the comfort of your country here in Nigeria. So next, I'll be asking Ashley this question. Could you please give us like practical tips to excel as a remote worker, including productivity resources if they are available? Being that you work remote and you work for an international brand, I'm sure that there'll be things like maybe time differences or probably things that will actually keep you that you know that you have to be, because we all have our outside life outside of work and also have other things we want to do for ourselves. So what are those things that you do in order to excel from your remote workspace? What are those practical tips that you do that you think you can advise others to do? Thank you.
Sorry, is that question to me?
No, it's to Ashley, please.
Ashley, okay.
Ashley, did you get my question?
Yeah, Kemi, I think I got it.
Okay.
Yeah, so thank you for asking. I mean, I knew a question like this was going to come. So I think for myself, really, I would say the working remotely, we've had to learn how to juggle, like you rightly mentioned, time differences between your team, between your clients and stuff like that. So I would say the main thing I find is to be able to be really focused on what you're doing and know how to multitask and be very disciplined about your job. So in terms of you working with a team of people who are in different locations, different times, so you need to have like a timetable you're following where you ensure that you're always keeping track of what is necessary, of what your deliverables are for the different people you're working with, or for the different projects you're working with. So you need to be able to track whatever you have to deliver so that things don't slip through the crack. And most of the times we tend to tell ourselves that okay, my brain, I'll be able to remember all I have to do and I wouldn't need to jot down everything. But I find personally for myself, I find that it's always good practice to to jot down, like have a to-do list every day so that it keeps you in check. And like I said, things don't fall through the crack. Another thing I would say is that working remotely, we find that it has been a little bit difficult to balance, I mean, in terms of work-life balance, because of all the challenges we face. You have, I mean, going to the office, you're probably working an 8-hour job, but now working remotely, you're probably working 10, 12 hours. So, I mean, you also need to learn how to prioritize what is important and what is not important, and also learn how to prioritize your own health. So it's not only about focusing on the job. Once you know how to prioritize what is important in your job, you find that you'd spend less time focusing on the things that could have been probably done through a quick email to somebody, a quick Teams message, rather than a call or a meeting. Those are things that take time. And I mean, from my experience, generally, people turn to things that could be said in a text, or I mean, in a quick email. People turn to schedule meetings. For all those things turn to take a lot of your time. So you need to have a to-do list and really focus on that, so that you focus on delivering what you have to do, and then you also are able to make time for yourself, for your private life. And I mean, as young professionals, we also turn to think that because we are still growing in the job, we have to kill ourselves for the job. But that's, I mean, I wouldn't say that should be the case. We need, as much as we want to grow in our professions, we also need to be able to tell us to set boundaries for ourselves in our work communities, in our lives, to be able to you should be able to tell yourself that, okay, this is a time when I'm dedicating for work. My colleagues know that this is a time when I'm dedicating for work, and this is a time when I'm dedicating for my own life. With that said, there are still some work things you'd have to do that would seep into the time that has been dedicated for your private life. You also need to be able to adjust your brain to think about what are those things. Even though you've set, I mean, boundaries, you still need to be able to identify those things that, okay, these are things that have to be delivered, no matter the fact that this is time for my private life. Because you'd say, okay, now I'm on a break, but for your job, you know those reports that are critical, those emails that are critical to decisions and stuff like that. So as much as you should be able to identify where the boundary is between your work and your job, that's why I keep stressing on identify what is most important for your job, and also knowing your team, because you need to be able to know each member of your team, how they function, so that you can easily work with that person. Every team member has a template or a model to work with them. You would not, the same way you work with person A is not the same way you work with person B. So I find that working remotely with different people at different times, you should be able to know your team and know how to relate with each team member. It's also going to make you working with different people more easier, because you know the person, you know the kind of efforts the person needs, you know the kinds of analysis. I'm sorry, I'm really into financial terms. You know the kind of analysis the person needs, you know the kinds of reports the person needs. So you need to be able to identify how you can deliver for each member of your team, which is also going to help you to be very much efficient. And another thing I wanted to stress also about this working from home thing is, in as much as we like to work from home and working remotely is a good thing, I equally find that the physical contact too, or just being present with other members of your team, is equally very important. So for people who have the opportunity for a hybrid schedule, for me personally, I find the hybrid schedule better for me, because I mean, I've been working from home since 2020, and at some point I was losing my mind. So once we got to the hybrid schedule, I had to choose. I had to decide what model will work for me? How many times do I want to be with people where I can communicate and feel the relationship between ourselves and feel the work getting easier? So, I mean, you also need to find that balance about how you want to work. Do you want to be working from home full time? Do you prefer to be with people? You need to find that balance for yourself, because it's also very much important for your mental health. And in our professional lives, our mental health is like very key to how we perform professionally and even in our private lives. So it's all about finding the right balance between what you think you can support at the job, at your home life, and trying to stick to those balances as much as possible. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Ashley. So you spoke about you said when you were remote, that you were doing productivity, you know that you can't remember everything, so you have to do some certain things. Were there certain apps you were using to aid your productivity? Were there certain things you were setting people, maybe you had like accountability partner at work, or you had an app that was helping remind you every hour for every minute, or giving you a schedule, okay, this, that. Do you have any of that you could share with us?
Right. So I track my to-do list in multiple ways. So I like to write down stuff. I have a notepad on my computer to which I jot on that when I'm having meetings, virtual meetings. But at the start of every day, I also have my physical jotter where I literally write down my to-do list for the day. And as I deliver on those, I check them off. And also for emails, especially working in international organizations where you work with thousands of colleagues at the same time, something I like to do is when I receive emails that have deadlines, I like to put the follow-up marks on those emails and reminders on those emails so that you don't forget about them. Even if you forget about them, your Outlook app will remind you. So those are a few things I do for myself. I write down my list, I check them off, I put follow-up marks on my emails to track them.
Thank you very much, Ashley. So from what Ashley has said, we can understand that no man is an island. You need a friend. It could be in terms of a digital app, like an app to help you remind. Your brain can't always remember everything. So you should always make sure you are tracking your deliverables, your to-do list, and as well prioritize your health. Because if you are not mentally sane, you will not be able to do your work effectively. Thank you very much, Ashley. So my next question will be going to Mr. Femi. So how can one land what kind of documents should one be preparing, and how can one actually land a remote job in 2022?
Okay, thank you.
That's Femi. Okay, I don't know. We have to Femi.
We have two Femis. Okay.
Yeah, we have two Femi.
Okay, I was so Femi Oyebamiji. Sorry.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So it's great to be seeing everyone's face, and it's great to be here. Yeah. So I'll just go straight to the question, and then trying to provide answer to the question. So basically, to land a remote job, just like Ibukun had said when he answered the first question, remote job is more or less of more skills than your bragging rights. So to start with, it's not even about bragging like, yeah, I've worked as probably I've been a bank manager for 10 years or 20 years, and then that's what qualifies me to actually be considered for this role. No, you may be getting it wrong. Number one, before you even start looking into documents and co, you need to have ascertained to an extent that you have the skill set required to work on the roles you want to subscribe to. Because trust me, unlike the days of physical work, or like physical work generally, where you work under supervision, and then you could have supervisors that can actually check if you are doing well or not doing well, if you are delivering or not delivering, and then the tracking is not that close. For a remote job, it seems to be a little of the opposite. Now, to an extent, if you are not qualified enough in terms of your skill set, your secret will easily be exposed. So before you even start putting documents together, you need to have even start by sitting to say, what are the industry I want to enter? And then what do I need? What are the skill set I need to work in this industry? Yeah, after you've made this decision and you started, delivering your skill set, a question might be, how do you know the skill set you need to start working in an industry, especially if it's an industry you've never been to? So I'm more of, the data AI automation industry, for example, but even software, most industry that I know about, especially technology-based industry. One of the very first things you want to also do is you can actually get job description in this industry. So it's just like, let's say I want to be a data analyst. Nothing stops me to going on LinkedIn job sites, going on Jobberman, going on all these job sites to actually download sample job descriptions, like vacancy descriptions, whether they are still or not. And in the course of checking through this description, I'm able to see some of those skill sets that are required to actually work in those roles. Now, if I'm able to develop capacity, it's not compulsory now about the capacity. At least I'm sure I have about over 50% capacity of what is required. Then I'm ready to get started. Then the most important tool after you've now done that is your resume, your CV. So let me just call it CV. Now, your CV is your marketing tool. I know someone asked that question earlier in the chat box here, that a sample CV, or is there a sample CV for a sample CV and so on and so forth. So basically, I like to put it right. There is nothing like a standard CV template. I like to start from there. Your CV is your marketing tool. It is like, imagine someone you want to build a product today. Let's say you built a product, whether tech or non-tech product. And then you are reaching out to me to say, hey, Femi, give me a template of your product adverts. I want to use it for mine. In a way, we have two different products, your product and my product. We have two different unique selling points for our product. We have two different values we want to create. It's even possible we are responding to different audience, like different customer personnel, and then we are selling to different people. So in a way, your CV is your marketing tool. And there is even a saying that there is no CV for all jobs. The fact that, it's your CV, here is your profile, a single CV does not match all in most cases.
Okay.
You need to actually tailor your CV. It's just like similar to writing a proposal for a contract. You won't write a proposal for a contract at Microsoft for a web development, or what's it called, contract, and then Google wants to automate something tomorrow, and you're sending the same proposal, same copy of proposal you sent to Microsoft. Without making, you just change the name of Microsoft to Google, and you send to Google. Trust me, Google will not consider you, because in a way, Google has their own requirements, pain points that they have specified, and that's what is applicable in job session. There is a job description, which is the pain point of the company. That is the value they want to bring you in, and that's the value. Now, you need to have what it takes to be able to fill into that pinpoint for them to give you the value that you think you deserve. So in doing that, you need to actually tailor your CV to every job. But there are standards, they are like a rule of thumb you could follow. One thing I would like to say is that if you're going to work remotely, you're going to apply for remote roles, because remote roles can seem more competitive than physical roles. The physical role sometimes is limited by boundaries. So I'm trying to recruit for Lagos, for example, a company in Lagos, Lagos VI. It's difficult for me to employ someone in Osun State or someone living in Akure. Of course, my concentration would be Lagos, or even if possible, I can even have preference for Island because it's in Lagos Island. But if I'm recruiting remotely, I don't care if you're applying from Dubai. I don't care if you're applying from US. So that means the competition is more. And because the competition is more, you need to, most companies has many applications flowing in. And because they have many applications flowing in, they seem to use automated systems like applicant tracking systems. If you are not yet, if you are just getting there for the first time, I think it's good you note that down. If you're going to work remotely, you're going to get, especially in the tech space, for what I know, you have to know about ATS. If you don't know about ATS, that might be a reason why you've been applying and you're not getting the job. You're not even securing the interview. Applicant tracking system, they are embedded in all these recruiting software that we see too most times all around there. So applicant tracking system actually sorts CV and ranks CV. So at the end of the day, if 5,000 people, if 50,000 people apply for a role, the HR will not need to walk through the 50,000 CV. Which HR will do that? Trust me. They have a life to live. So they won't walk.
True.
So at the end of the day, they just tell the ATS, please give me the top 10 CV. That's what I need. It's that top 10 that gets to woman, and woman eyes rates and invite for interview. So if you don't know about how this system works, your CV may not even be able to beat the system. You may know about it, and then you are actually, we also have two types of CV, task-based CV and result-based CV. So task-based is just specifying what you do, participating in program, marketing this product to customers, delivering solutions to top clients. Now you are marketing, anybody can market, but not everybody can create results from marketing. Bring a primary 6 student that just graduated from primary 6, give him a product to go market. You go to the road and say, Daddy, will you buy? It's marketing. But he cannot bring revenue from 100 million to 500 million in 3 months. That's the results. So sometimes there are results-based CV where you try to, you try to highlight some of the achievements you have made, especially in your past role, that can make companies say, oh, this person is a results-based person, and then we consider him. These are some of the things that can downgrade in applicant tracking system. And then you also need to prioritize. I've also seen CVs like, you would see, for example, I've seen CV that actually, they are not CVs. I would like to put it that way. Okay. I'll see CV like, it starts with, so I'm not trying to probably, abuse anyone that have that kind of CV here, because they actually don't know about it before now. But I've seen CV like, page 1 is about like profile, and you see first name, last name, middle name, state of origin, local government of origin, religion, nationality. On the first page, that's everything you've got. Then second page, educational background, schools attended with date. You see all the schools listed. Educational background, BSc in this, SS3, primary 6, you have it listed. And that's the end of CV. References, you just put some reference. And that's the CV someone is bringing for a job. It may work in physical because they believe, oh, we can still engage this person. Let's see if we can trust him. In remote, the ATS will not even consider you because all those information are your personal information. As a matter of fact, if they don't request for all those things, there's no need to supply them. I don't need your state of origin to recruit you. Most companies they don't discriminate. It doesn't matter whether you are from Osun State, whether you're from Lagos. I'm not picking you because you are from my state. No. So there are 4 pillars you need to consider. Maybe that's like 4 pillars. 1, your skills. You need to be able to highlight your skills. Your skill is actually defined as what you can do. What can you do? It doesn't matter what can you do. That's your skills. You need to be able to highlight your knowledge. Your knowledge is what do you know. So sometimes we get it wrong by thinking our degree is actually what means the entire world that we must consider for a role, especially for a remote role. I've seen a lot of people trying to struggle to enter a remote role, and this is their point of frustration. Your degree can just be an evidence of knowledge. I've seen a mechanical engineering professor that cannot repair his own car. It doesn't mean he's dull. It just means that he has the knowledge, but he has not actually entered the engine before to bring down the engine and know where to put oil and fit and all these things. So sometimes your knowledge should be highlighted. Yes, it's important. Your skills is very important. Then your experience is actually very important. So if you have experience, and remember your experience needs to be result-based. You need to tell us about the results you created in your experience. And number 4 pillars will be your personal quality. Your communication skills, teamwork, time management, all those things. Ensuring that you are able to package those 4 and not just packaging them in line with the person specification that was specified for the role. So that in landing a remote job, the first thing that you must have your CV well prepared. And when you are done, there are a lot of tools you can use online to scan your CV, to rank it for ATS. One of the ones you can use for every job application you are making is jobscan.co. I'm dropping that in the chat box, jobscan.co. You may want to check it out today. This is not to advertise for JobScan, but it's what I've recommended for a few guys that have worked for them. So how the jobscan.co works, it allows you to update a copy of your CV that you want to submit for that job. Then it allows you to submit the job description for that job, the job you're applying for. Then it tries to rank you. So you see how you rank. So by the time the ATS actually rank, you already have an idea. Yeah. So that will be all. Your CV should be good, and then prepare for your interview as the final thing. Don't just say, yeah, it's a remote job. I have the best CV. I have secured an interview. People enter the interview thinking it should be impromptu. No, interview should not be impromptu. Of course, you've been given notice 1 week before. Why should you see it as an impromptu talk? No. You are going to an interview. You need to be able to, in advance, try to anticipate questions. Bring the job. Normally, if I'm preparing for interview, I print out the job description, print out the person specification, then put my CV on one side. So I'm able to tick. Number 1, they requested that this person must be good with SQL. Do I do SQL? What's the SQL I do? This is it. Will I be able to defend this SQL I do? Yes. They said the person must proficient with R. Okay, I don't do R. What do? I do Python. Is there anything R can do that Python cannot do? Okay, no. Okay, let me be able to highlight it out. So if I get to that interview and you ask me questions, I already anticipate possible questions you want to ask me. So that would be all about that. Your CV must be cool, build the skills beforehand, get your CV ready for the job in line with all the standards for getting a remote job, and get prepared for the interview. And then put yourself out there. Don't prepare the best CV and sit in your daddy's room. They will not bring jobs. It only happens in Hollywood film. It's Hollywood film that you submitted a CV, you applied to a job in a company 5 years ago. That's what your CV are fine. So we come to bring you job. No, it doesn't happen in real life. Real life, build on LinkedIn jobs, on Jobberman, set LinkedIn job alert. There are job alerts on LinkedIn. Set it. When a new job comes, you receive a notification. There is a job alert on Google. The Google we used to search every day. If you search for a job on Google, you're allowed to create an alert. Create an alert on Google. Don't be scared of receiving emails, notification about vacancies. Receive like 50 notifications daily. Then set a target for yourself. I want to apply for 10 jobs daily till I get this role. So I'm determined to get in. So those are like strategies you can use to get in. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Femi. Mr. Femi has said a whole lot. First of all, for those of us, as he said, for those of us who haven't heard of the ATS system, we should look into that and make sure our CVs are ATS compliant. And also, he has given us a wonderful place, a wonderful site whereby we can check to see how qualified we are for a role. Make sure we all go to jobs.co to ensure that we increase our ability to get a job. Thank you, Mr. Femi, for everything you shared. I hope we all got one or two nuggets after everything we said. So I would like to ask, is Mary Boniface here on this call? So is Mary Boniface here on this call? Mary, are you here on this call?
Hi, Kemi.
Hi.
So sorry, I just wanted to add some points to what Femi said before we jump in. Okay, great. Femi, like I really enjoyed your talk. Like it's very apt and straight to the point. Yes, you spoke about the resume, you spoke about the preparation and all sorts, but there's some other things that would be helpful for people in this call to know when applying for remote jobs. I could also post some job boards that could also check. Let me just copy it and paste. So a colleague of mine shared 225 companies that are currently hiring remotely. So if you want to check that out, just dropping it here. Okay, and so we have some items there. You can Google them and just search for jobs. When you're searching for these jobs, right, everything that Femi has said, you should take that into consideration and be deliberate about the companies you apply to. Not all companies have the capacity to hire from Nigeria, except you're looking to relocate, right?
Okay.
There are different reasons for this: government policy, cybersecurity, and whatnot. Like some companies will even require you to move out of Nigeria to continue that job. I've seen a lot of my friends who had to relocate in order to have access to company data because they can't move it out of the EU. It's like a government policy. So another thing you also want to be very keen on is the questionnaires you see on websites or application boards where they ask, do you have experience in this role or have you worked in tech companies? A lot of people tend to be dishonest about it. I would always advise, be honest. If you don't have experience, it's fine. And if you have 100%, or if you have a requirement and you have 100% of those requirements for the job, it means you're overqualified for the job. So for example, if you see a job and you're requesting for 3 to 5 years in a certain skill and you have 2 years, go for it. Yes, go for it. Don't say, oh, it's 3 to 5 years, they won't pick me. Go for it. There's every likelihood that you are the right man for the job. Are you with me? Then another thing people do is they reach out to a lot of people within the company. For example, if I'm applying to Google, for example, I would reach out to the hiring manager on LinkedIn. I reach out to someone else, and it keeps going. Try to limit your reach outs because information spreads within the organizations. right? So if you've applied for a job at Google, I never stop at the application. I've sent my amazing CV, I've done everything. I try to reach out to 1 or 2 people, right, and get to understand how working in that environment looks like, and if they're open to referring me, right? This could be another way to easily land jobs. So you want to build the relationship first, right? Because come on, Femi mentioned there are 5,000 CVs, and it's possible the ATS will not even select yours. So what do? Do you want to just rely on yes, no? You want to take the extra effort, right, to ensure that you get the job if it's like a dream job for you. And during the interview, this is where a lot of people mess up. And it's all about the basics. It's simple. Show up on time, be very apt in your communication, fast responses, know what you're doing. Take your time to understand the question and respond. Check your internet connection. There are tools for that, right? The lighting, the mic, noisy environment. Think about it. I'm in an interview with you and everywhere is noisy. What would you think? And one other thing people don't realize is nonverbal communications. I'm speaking to you, you're hearing me, but you're also seeing other things that you might not know. It's my gestures, the inflections of my voice, all those minor things are things you might not currently see, but you would remember. And for me, what I try to do, I have a dog. Hello? Hello?
Can I hear you?
Hi.
Okay, I think I lost Kemi there. Okay, great. So I have a dog, for example, and I know when interviewers are coming into the meeting, they have one mission, one goal. To assess me, to know if I'm the right man for the job. And my own goal is to make it easy for the recruiter to feel I'm the ideal man for the job. So I try to disrupt that process, right? It's a soft trick that you can use, but you don't want to overuse it. They're coming in to ask you questions and you're under pressure to answer. If the interview sounds like an interview, then you're doing it wrong. It has to sound like a conversation, like you just turn up to the club, you're meeting up with your friends and all of that. You want to relate with them because after the whole process is done, right, the recruiters sit and they want to know who is the best fit for the job. So it's possible you've gotten to the final round and now they have 5 people in front of them and they want to select just one. Now it's those minor things you do to make yourself memorable that will give you the job. Okay, like for me, I try to ask questions about, how is the weather over there in the US? I break the flow. Sometimes I bring up my dog and, hey, meet Momo. Momo is very popular in my company because even when my offer letter came in, it wasn't just for me. They offered myself and Momo the job. Do you get? So there are different ways to go around, the nonverbal side of interviews in relation to the communications and your skill sets and everything that Femi had mentioned. So I hope this helps, okay, to land your dream job, because most companies are all about the culture fit. It's not really about the skills. So if you have everything, on point, there are 1,000 people that have it on point. Femi also mentioned that now it's not a bordered, recruitment. It's you are interviewing with the rest of the world. For example, if the role is global, right, it means that you have over 1,000 people applying for that same role. And let's say they're granting interviews to like 20 of them, and you're one of the lucky few. The 20 they're granting are as good as you, if not better than you. So what would you do to make yourself stand out? It's not in the knowledge area or in the skill area. Of course, you have to be good in that. But the nonverbal communications, things that the recruiter will say, I like this guy. I really want him to be on my team. I asked the recruiter that brought me to remote when I was preparing for this interview or this presentation, that why did you move me to the next stage? You know what he said? He didn't mention anything about the skills or every other thing relevant to the job. He said, no, you're just a friendly person. I love the energy. And I'm like, hey, I want you on the team. So there are different ways to get a remote job, right? Be good at what you do, have the skills, have everything, but also add some other non-verbal sides, some relational skills, right? And you'll be fine. I hope this helps. Just thought to drop this in line with what Femi mentioned.
Thank you very much, Ibuku. Thank you so much for that. While Kemi tried to join back, I will come in for her. So my name is Ajibola, and Thank you so much for your insights and for adding to what Femi earlier mentioned. So straight up, I would like to ask Adejimobi this next question, and that has to do with relationship, because I can recall Ashley mentioned that it's while working remotely, it's very important to know how to have a good relationship with people, because you are working with people from different parts of the world, probably different time and all of that. So Adejimobi, if you don't mind, how can how can one effectively, relate with coworkers and build, relationship with your team members in a positive way, and in a way whereby you're not competing in a way, but you are adding value to the company and everyone is happy? Adejimobi, are you here with us?
Yes, hi, Ajibola. Thank you for the question. So I'm going to build on, can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can.
So thank you. I'm going to build on what Femi just said about making an impression during an interview and making yourself memorable. So you don't want to make a good impression during the interview and after they employ you, the energy just drops. You have to keep it up. You have to keep up with it. And when you are working remotely, a bulk of your conversation is done online through messages, chats, and all that. And when you're talking online, especially when you're chatting, it's very easy to misinterpret messages or miscommunicate. So you have to be intentional about the kind of words you use. You have to be very intentional about emojis. I know we are in the age of emojis and stickers. There are some stickers that to you is just cruise, but another person might find it offensive. And one thing Ashley said is knowing the people you work with. You will know some people that they don't know play. They are serious people. They want everything direct. You don't go to their DMs with stickers. You go straight to the point. And when you know that there's somebody that doesn't mind when you joke, yes, they appreciate things like that. You joke with them. So it all just boils down to knowing each person you are working with and knowing how to deal with them specifically. Another thing is politeness. Being polite and being kind, these two things are non-negotiable. You have to be polite. You have to normalize using words like please, thank you. Either you are referring to your superiors or your subordinates. You are co-workers and you don't even know this whole world is just like a big village. You might have a co-worker that you think is annoying and that person might be your link to your next job. So you have to be polite and kind to everybody. Also, paying people compliments, it makes them remember you. Oh, I like what you did with that article. Oh, nice work today. Give people their flowers. Don't feel threatened by other people. And when you're in a competitive workspace and you see other people that are doing better, don't just come and try to attack them or try to beat them. Make friends with them, learn from them. It's not a battleground. Everybody is learning. There are things they can learn from you. Be polite, be respectful, pay attention to them, be kind, drop. And also another thing is communicate. When you cannot meet up, when you can't show up, communicate, pass the information across. Don't just ghost and they're looking for you. Sorry. So communicate, carry your team members along. Don't always try to. And also when you work together with your team, be very generous with the praise. Let's say you're a team lead now and then your team does something really great and the superior is like, oh, well done. And you just want to take all the praise. You didn't do the work by yourself. That is not a very good attitude. And I find that very common amongst remote workers. So be very sure to carry your team members along. Appreciate them. Make them feel like they're doing something worthwhile. And that's how they respect you. That's how they love you. That's how when they're talking about you, they can put in good word for you. You're a good person. Do you get? So I think last, I'll just say it boils down to knowing everybody you work with and treating them accordingly.
Thank you very much, Adejimobi. I would like to ask you another question. Being that you are a freelance content writer, you know that it's not like it's 9 to 5, all of that. It comes, it goes, it's wavy basically. So how have you been able to land yourself writing gigs? Like how have you been able to put yourself out there to be able to get your writing?
Okay, thank you for that question. So for freelance content writers now, if you look at it, it's either you're working on Fiverr or you're working on Upwork. But personally, I don't like those platforms. So the major ways I get my gigs is through referrals, relationships, and social media. That is why relationship is a very, very key factor. So I love volunteering, yes, and I've volunteered for quite a number of NGOs. I'm still volunteering for them. So it is this, most of the jobs I've gotten have been from people I met in these NGOs. And they just see what I write for the NGO and they're like, oh, I want you to do this. And also I'm a member of quite a number of communities. That's why you need to constantly put yourself out there. You cannot want to get writing gigs and isolate yourself. Sometimes I don't want to interact with people, but I understand that my job is dependent on my interaction. If I don't want to use Upwork and Fiverr, then I have to optimize social media. I have to optimize my network. I have to optimize my relationships. I also have a blog. It's a good thing to have a blog. Just go there, post things that you like writing about. Just write and share it with people. People will see your works and they will have you in mind. There's somebody I know that has a book club and he has access to lots of writers and all. But just because of what he has read from my blog and the things I post on my WhatsApp status, he comes to my DM to give me job. And he says things like, I know I have other people that can do this job, but I want you to write this because of what I saw. So you cannot just, don't hurt your work, post it, share it with people, ask for their opinions. And then another thing again, when you're working for free, when you're volunteering, or when it's an internship and it's not paying well, don't say because it's free or it's not paying well, so you just do it anyhow. Be serious with it. You don't know who is watching, because the truth is people are watching. People, even people you don't know, people are watching you, and you'll be surprised there is not going to pay. So how I get my jobs majorly is through social media, through volunteering. People I've volunteered with, even the founder of the NGOs I've volunteered for, they just come to me like, oh, you've been doing so much for this NGO. There's this opportunity. Would you like to take it up? And things like that. Because I don't like Upwork. I don't like Fiverr. I don't think it is good for my mental health. I just don't like that environment. I think it's toxic. So for me, that's how I get my jobs.
Thank you very, very much, Adejumobi, for that answer. So as she has said, if you know you're a freelance writer or you do freelance basically, create good relationships with people. The relationship you get, you keep are the ones that will be fair if that next job that you just. So I'm going to be asking this question to Ashley. So being that you are in the finance space, you do data analytics and all of that, what will I say skills do you think for someone that is new and doesn't really know much about that space, but the person really wants to be in that space, what kind of skill would you advise this person to actually take? What courses should the person be taking? What events should the person go to? And how can the person position themselves to be able to get an international role in the finance space? Ashley, thank you.
Yeah, hi Kemi. You would have to repeat the question for me. Sorry.
All right, that's fine. I said, being that you're in the finance space, you do data and all of that, there's certain skills that you've had to accumulate, because there's one thing Mr. Femi did highlight. He said that your resume, you can't just say, oh, my resume is this. For remote jobs, basically, you need to have those skills. You can't just say write the paper. You must have those skills to be able to land a remote job and all of that. So being that you're in the finance space and you do data as well, what skills have you been able to, did you accumulate? Where did you get them from? How can somebody that wants to enter into this finance space, the data space, in an international or in a global market, what kind of skills the person needs to learn or acquire to be able to position themselves into that market?
Right. So the first thing that really jumped to my mind is especially for anybody working with data, it's really attention to detail. Yeah, attention to detail is key for anybody handling. I mean, attention to detail is key for anybody handling anything, but especially for anybody handling data. And also a good mastery, no matter how many applications we have out there to use, I find that Excel is still key, a good mastery of Excel. So generally, I like to practice Excel as much as I can. In my free time, I take short courses on Excel. I watch videos on Excel, especially about new formulas coming up. So I love to practice Excel a lot, and I would say that's also one of the skills that is also very much in demand. And I think you asked about courses and trainings and stuff like that. Personally, I haven't taken that many professional courses or training. What I do is I find, so my strategy, especially when I started, I would look for people who needed my skill sets, just as, I was doing it as volunteering. At that point, I probably didn't know much about what I was doing, but because it was on a volunteer basis, it was me just doing them a favor. The stakes were not that high, so it was easy for me to practice with them. So in terms of training, for finance, especially, I was just talking to Ruth on the chat. For finance, I took the FMV, and that was one of the most in-depth trainings I've had. I've had other trainings, but the FMV, it's like a basic training, but unlike others that you have to read to write an exam, and at the end of the day you come out accredited. The FMV really takes you into the knowledge of the course. Like, they give you the background, they teach you about it. So if I was to recommend a basic training for somebody, that's going to be it for finance, FMV. People would mention the CFA. Yeah, CFA, you can do that, but I would go for FMV. So personally, attention to detail, Excel, practice what you're supposed to be doing, practice it as much as you can. Look for every opportunity to practice it. And it's easy, like I mentioned, it's easy to practice when the stakes are not that high. So you will not take your job as practice session. So find opportunities, volunteer for organizations. Even, you have friends that probably need some easy analysis somewhere. Just tell your friend, okay, you need this done, I can help you to do this. These are all practice sessions. So to me, the best advice I would give is just really find opportunities to practice the skills you want to master. That's it.
Thank you very, very much, Ashley, for that, for your contribution. So basically, we are looking to enter into data and finance space. Ensure you have good attention to details. Ensure that you practice. Don't use, one thing she said that I like, that don't use your job as your practice. So see if you can there's so many volunteering opportunities these days. Whereby you can actually get your hands on real life experience on different job roles. You can see how you can get into one. For example, I know there's this McKinsey program that helps in consulting. There's the impact consulting program. So whatever space that you're looking to get into, ensure that you take series of tests, or let's say volunteering, that puts you in the ability, gives you the ability to practice on real life situations, so you don't take your job as your practice. Thank you very much for that question, Ashley. For that answer, Ashley. Sorry.
Right.
So, Mr. Ibuku, I would like to ask you this next question. So, for someone that has been applying, let's say the person has applied for different job roles and the person hasn't been able to land one, what's your advice to that person, being that you're a recruiter? So what is your advice to someone who has been applying for series of remote jobs but hasn't been able to land one?
Okay, so just to clarify, I am not a recruiter. I work in the recruitment company and hiring company.
Okay.
Great. Yeah, so I will speak from experience. The simple answer to that is keep applying. Yeah, don't give up. It should be a job for you. Like I tell people, like in sales, where I currently operate, as an example, if I want to reach out, or if my target for the month is, let's say, $5 million, or in a year, $5 million, and I have a pipeline. The pipeline is like a funnel of companies that you feel can give you that revenue. If 10 companies will give you that 5 million, you should be reaching out to 100+ companies. So it's like a 10% conversion rule. So if you want to land like 5 job offers, you should be most likely applying to more than 50 jobs.
Okay.
And that means you must be strategic about it. And even though you've applied to the 50 jobs and you still don't get, well, if you ask me, if you are strategic about the companies you apply to, 50 is a lot. You should land one. If your CV is done right, if you're approaching it the right way, and a mistake a lot of people do is because you're so eager to get a remote job, you go to a company and you're applying for different jobs. It's a big turnoff to recruiters. Don't do that. Don't try it. So it makes sense if you're applying to multiple jobs within the same role, maybe in sales, development, in account executive, in account management. It makes sense. But for example, you're applying to legal, you're applying to HR in the same company. It means you have no focus, you have no path. And definitely they would not waste their time or interviewing you. So the simple answer to that is keep applying and get it the right way. As you're applying, you don't just stop at that, you do follow-ups. Meaning that, like I said earlier, reach out to people within maybe 1 or 2 people that are able to help you. And if you are very good in terms of relationships, I don't think that should be an issue because companies prioritize referrals to the pools of talents they get from the greenhouse and likes. In my company, there is actually a fee for employees referring other people. So employees are happy to refer if they trust that you are good for the job. Do you get? So I can tell you for certain, reach out for every job you're applying to. Don't just submit your CV and say, okay, I'm waiting for a response. No, while the CV is with them, find other ways to get the attention of the company. Okay, so keep applying. And I mentioned something where I mentioned if there are 3 to 5 years experience and you have to still go ahead and apply. That does not mean if it's a senior role and you're requesting for 10 years experience and you have 2 years experience, you apply. No one will take you serious. 2 years to make sense, right? So be very deliberate about how you apply so you're not applying wrongly and you'll be fine, 100%.
Thank you very much, Saibuku. And Saibuku has said a whole lot. First of all, don't shoot yourself short. If you believe you're good enough for the role, you have every requirement that is there. Even if they say 3 years, don't overpass your boundaries, but at the very least, shoot your shot. And also maintain good relationships. LinkedIn is the best platform that is there for professionals that are willing to skyrocket their career. Whatever job role you are looking to get into, go to LinkedIn, try and connect yourself with someone from that space, and you might just get yourself a good referral that might land you that job role. So make sure you build your relationship.
In addition to that, Kemi, like I mentioned earlier, right? You meet 100% of the requirements of the job. It means you're qualified for that job. You are just simply that's the rule.
Would you advise that someone that has everything should still apply, or the person should not apply if you are qualified for a role?
I give you an example. When I was applying to my company remote, even Bolt, and even Intel, I did mention Intel in that. What I saw is that the caliber of people that also applied for the job were overqualified for the job. I was just managedly, maybe, satisfied by the recruiters or something like that. But at the end of the day, I know if it's a global role, people are looking for good jobs. So if I were to be like an account executive in a former company, maybe a local company, and there's this global job that is giving me a step down, I will go for that step down because I know in the next 6 months in the new company, I can grow. So overqualified people apply for jobs and they're okay with doing that because they know that in the next 3 to 6 months, they will get some growth or, some career development. So if you have like 70% of the requirements of the job, apply and give it your best. If you have 100%, you're in good standing because you're overqualified. I would advise you go for another role that is more senior to that. So
thank you very, very much. So lastly, we'll be asking.
Hi Kemi. Can I just add to what Femi said? So there's this I like to say about job applications. I like to say you need to be intentional. I like to use the word intentional about applying for jobs. And we've all spoken about you not just build a good CV and sit in your father's house. You need to be intentional about applying for the jobs. And one other thing I wanted to mention was really about the fact that Femi rightly mentioned, if you're looking for a job, you need to apply for multiple jobs, which is very true. And I also wanted to stress about the fact that applying for multiple jobs also is beneficial to you because you get shortlisted for interviews. You go for those interviews, and from the questions that you are asked at those interviews, even though you may not make it for that particular job, it gives you a lot of information on what you should be focusing on what you should be researching about for the next jobs you're applying for. So for myself personally, when I wanted to move to the international financial, to the IFC from the AFDB, I told myself, and I wanted to be an investment analyst, I told myself I was going to go to their page and apply for every new investment analyst job I found on their page, no matter the country, no matter, even if Portuguese was the language they preferred, Spanish was the language they preferred. I didn't know those languages, but I applied for that because I knew that, okay, if I was shortlisted for these, the people, English is a general language. They will probably ask me some questions in English. They probably wouldn't take me because I don't know the language, but I was interested in knowing what kinds of questions people, interviewers would ask for these positions. And that gave me a lot of information to research. And at the end of the day, by the time I got my job, there was no question and a panelist asked me that I hadn't heard before. So it was just some things I heard back to back. So that's also an advantage applying for multiple jobs give you, because you get to have, they're asking you questions, but at the same time, it's feeding into your resource bank and building your knowledge about the positions you want to get to. So I really just wanted to stress on that.
Thank you very, very much, Ashley, for your contribution. So the next question I'll be asking will be to Mr. Femi Oyebami. So in deciding for a remote job, like there are different risks certainly be looking into depending on the particular role that is. So what factors or what risks should a person be looking into before deciding to take a particular remote job role? Mr. Femi Oyebami. Do you understand the question?
Yeah, sure. You're talking about the risks to look out for when you're trying to apply for a remote job. Yeah, if I will start on the general note, there are some risks that are common to both remote jobs and non-remote jobs. Number one, you need to be sure that the company you're applying to is actually a legit company to start with. It's a real company out there. It's not like some kind of a scammer company that just wastes your effort and then nothing comes out. That's the number one factor. Then one of the things that I'm intentional about is my mental health. There's some remote job, because it's remote job, it is not every manager that knows how to manage remote jobs to start with. It is not every company that is mature enough for remote job. That's the reality. Now, I've seen businesses where I've seen people that have enrolled in, and then when I get to speak to them, you get to realize that, imagine working in a company, your contract says 8 to 5. I'm not saying it's bad for you to work beyond 8 to 5, but then because your manager believes you're working remotely, he needs to have a meeting with you at 9 p.m. every day. He needs to have a meeting with you at weekends. In fact, some managers legalize it to make it look like you own their life. Like they try to own your entire life because it's remote. So one of the risks of working remotely is that losing your work life, losing your personal life for work. That's a very poor work-life balance. And then sometimes you can even set in unintentionally. You can even be the one that draft yourself into this unintentionally sometimes. That you forget you have your own life. And when you've grafted yourself so much into it, it's now difficult to want to withdraw. So this is what I mean by drafting yourself into it. You've resumed, your normal contract is 8 to 5. However, when you first join, you're so excited about the role. So you are available 7, you're available 8, you're available 9 p.m., you're even available for 10 p.m., you're available for weekends, all days. Even when it's not necessary for you to actually, when you don't have things that are urgent, when you have things that can actually wait till Monday. But because you are so excited, you feel your Saturday and Sunday is part of the role. Yeah, it's a good spirit, it's a good attitude that every employer also wants you to have. However, you might not get to a point that your Saturday then have some other engagement that you need to do. And then that's when problems start. It's not difficult for you to actually stop what you've started. Now, and then at that point, you like, okay, I have a friend, when he got a remote job, he was not in a relationship, he was still single. So he had all those time, the weekends, he spent a lot of time. After work, he spent a lot of time on the job. So they know him like, this guy is available. So naturally, his boss will schedule meeting for Sunday, for Saturday, is convenient. Now he entered the relationship, and then at the beginning, the love was sparkling. And then they will have a reason to go out on a Saturday, sometimes just unwind with his love and so on and so forth. And that was where the fight started with his boss and his management and everything. Because sometimes now they have now seen it as Saturday as part of his role. So they will actually have an expectation of him on Friday. And by Monday, because he's not delivering the expectation, it begins to make him look like he's underperforming. However, he's actually overperforming if it had been based on the things he can. It's just like now he can take for a month, let's say based on his 8 hours working daily, he can actually take up 10 tasks and close it during the month. But in the past, he had made weekend part of the work days, closing hours part of the work days. Now he has been taking on 20 workloads. Now, when he started having engagement on weekend, and engagement he couldn't stop. I know ladies are powerful, guys. that charm. You can't resist it. And then that started. 20 tasks, he could not close that again. He had to close ones that, the weekend was out of it. So that's one of the boundaries you should look out for. The work-life balance, it's actually very important. You need to also consider your mental health. It's like I said, not every manager can manage remote workers. They might not understand your challenges sometimes. That's another thing to look out for. And the third thing you want to look out for is the convenience of working remotely. Like I always say, it's not everybody that working remotely works for. I need to be sincere. One, if you don't have a conducive space to work, then an hybrid setting or working from the office could help you. So the company I work for currently, we've been on remote work for over 2 years. And then, we have an office facility, of course. So you're also welcome to work at the office anytime you want to work at the office. Just work in, you do your work. When you close, you go back home. However, I have friends that prefer to go to the office to work. Why? Because if they are at home, there are a lot of distractions. They might be living in a house where DJ is already beside the house playing all the time. Or maybe they have kids. They make noise, especially when they're on holiday, they make noise, they scatter everywhere. And then you need to do, sometimes video call is not too common too, but there are times that you need to do video calls and then all those things. So that's another risk. So you need to be prepared in advance. If possible, setting up a workroom in your room that you can lock up if something goes wrong or something. So those are like possible things you need to look out for if you are going to be working from home. But working from home is actually very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Femi, for your answer. So 3 things that Mr. Femi said you should look at in case you did not highlight them. 1, don't start what you cannot finish. Make sure you check the job description and ensure that it works for you. Secondly, be sure that this company is legit. Do your research. Go to their ask around. Go to their website. Use your resources to ensure that these companies are actually right. So this is the end of our panel session. I'm guessing we all enjoyed it or had 1 or 2 new knowledge. So next we'll be going to our icebreaker. So this is just
can I just quickly answer Khadija's question? I think there's a question in the chat. Okay.
We would go to that where I will ask everybody can drop their questions. There's still going to be a Q&A session after this.
Okay, all right. Maybe that works then, because I wanted to quickly drop on that.
Okay, sorry. So next we're going to bring to an icebreaker. So this icebreaker is just a way to know everyone, because one thing we've spoken about is creating relationships. So right here we have like a number of people on this call, different people from different walks of life. So if you want to create relationships. So we could start by dropping our LinkedIn profiles or LinkedIn handles so that we could connect with one or two people. You don't know who could be your next recruiter or someone that could actually refer you to that next job role. So we could just drop our LinkedIn handles for so we could connect with everyone. You could do well to connect with people. I'm sure we all enjoyed this session and we should have gotten a lot from it. So just drop your LinkedIn handles and let's connect with everyone. So while that is going on, here, next on our list is a live Q&A session. So if you know you have like questions that have been bothering you, questions you would like to ask each of our speakers, kindly send those questions. You can send them to me personally on the chat box, or you can send it out for everyone. So if you have questions that have been bothering you that you would like to ask, kindly drop your questions. During the course of the panel session, so people asked some questions. One question was, in the situation where you are just entering a new industry, where you have no prior experience in, what do you highlight? What do you do to highlight the experience you don't have? If anyone is comfortable asking this question, this is free. I won't be showing to anyone particularly. If you have an answer to this question out of our panelists. So if someone is asking, if you are entering into a new industry, you have no prior experience in it, what do you do to highlight the experience you don't have? That sounds a bit dicey. What do you do to highlight the experience you don't have? So somebody, maybe the person wants to change job roles and all of that. The person doesn't really exactly have a experience in that particular job role they're looking to get into. How does the person highlight what they can do if they feel that they can do this job role, even though they've not worked in a place that shows that they handle this work, but they are confident they can do it? So how do they highlight the skills they already have to be able to join or this new company they're looking into? Can any of our panelists kindly answer this question?
Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can.
So I would like to answer the question. So if I got what you said right, this person is asking that when you get into a new industry, how do you highlight the experience you don't have? Right?
Yes.
So
let's say
doesn't have
experience in that field, but they probably believe they can do the work, they have the skills. So how did they actually highlight that they can do that so they can gain a chance into entering that company?
All right. Okay. So there are some companies that are open to employing people with no experience. They don't mind training the people they work with. So you could just look for companies like that. That's the thing. Actually, getting experience for a job is not just for the job, it's for you. It boosts your confidence in a way when you know that you really know what you are doing. When you just try to get experience, volunteer for organizations, you can work for free to get that experience. It's not just for the companies, for you too. There's a way for me now, there's no time that you wake me up or ask me anywhere. I don't have to be prepared to write. It is something that I've done over and over and over and over. That confidence is just there because I have the experience. But when you don't have the experience, there's a kind of fear that comes with it. You are not even sure. How can you be sure you can do it when you've not even done it before, when you don't actually have the experience? Try to volunteer, try to get the experience. You don't have to wait until you have 5 years experience. It's the consistency that matters, the quality of the experience. Even if it's just 6 months or 1 year, it makes you feel like, yes, I know this thing, I can do this thing. And these recruiters, these employers, they can tell when you know what you are talking about. They can tell when you know that you can do this thing. They can tell when you've done it before. So you don't just go with, I believe I can do it. No, it's fine to believe in yourself, but it works better when you have something else to back up that belief.
Thank you very, very much for that answer. So sure.
Okay. So thank you for that. And then let me just add a few things to what you've highlighted. Yeah. So one, when you don't have the experience in industry, just like you rightly said that, you can actually, give it a try, do internship and do all of those things. Another thing that you should know is, like I said earlier, when I was answering the first question, things you need to get a remote job. I had mentioned 4 pillars that actually get into the role. Sometimes it's not just experience. There's a place of knowledge, what you know. There's a place of skills, what you can do. There's a space of experience. Experience for how long have you been doing what you claim you can do. And there's a place of personal qualities, other features you've got that can help you, in delivering better on the road. Now, and just like Ibokun Femejala rightly said, one of the questions too, that sometimes attitude actually pays off. How are they able to picture you that is this person's culture fit? And then will he be actually good to join our team? So in the first place, another advice I would like to give you is, if you know you are lacking on the experience part, try to create an edge for yourself in the other 3 pillars. Don't deceive yourself that you've been in the banking space, for example, you've never done data analytics, and want to enter data analyst industry, and then you just come for an interview, and then you don't even know the skills you ought to know. You don't know, like, there are something that it's not depending on your experience. You that wants to transit, you must have made some intentional efforts about your learnings. You must have learned some skills, not just learning them, you must have practiced them. And sometimes experience is not just about the number of years you've used to work on a role. Experience can be for how long have you been doing what you claim you can do. So it doesn't even matter if you've been, so for example, I've been on a recruiting team for a data analyst in the past. I've been on several ones, but there was a particular one. On that particular team, I had a guy that has over 15 years of experience combined. He's actually at a senior level, but I don't know why he's trying to move into data. And then he has the experience, he has worked in several places. Now, he also, within the experience, he has transited to data analytics, and he has worked in data analytics for like, I think 6 or 7 years out of it. And then where our focus was more or less on BI, business intelligence developer, someone that's good with Power BI that can bring us dashboards that will communicate business insight. Now, I had another person among the candidates that had like a 1-year experience. So it was like more or less an internship, not even a very serious one. However, the guy with the 7 years in data space and other years in other industry, while trying to talk to him, I realized, yes, he knows Power BI, for example, which was a major skill that we're looking for. But then, if I want to total the cumulative of the dashboard he has built, I can say he has not built up to, like, let's say 5, 6 dashboards. And those 5, for example, Power BI dashboard are automation. So you only build ones that maintain. So it's possible he has just built, or they built before he even joined. It was just managing. So in a way, he has not faced challenges. Like maybe work with some data sets that are very crazy to analyze, and then he believes he has worked with more of data sets, can just jump to visualization and start visualizing. So when it comes to transformation and other part of data analytics, it was lacking in terms of the experience. But this guy with 1-year experience used the strategy, which you can use too. It's applicable in tech industry. It works in tech industry generally. You can gain experience using this approach. This guy has built several dashboards over the year. Over that 1 year, he has built like uncountable ones. I can't even remember, but I know he has a lot of dashboards. Now he brings the top 20 dashboards, put it in the PDF as a portfolio, and shared with us. So while the interview was going, I was already seeing those dashboards. Like he was like, what will he be building when he joined the team? Yeah, he will build this dashboard finance dashboard. So imagine he just went on, there are places where you can get data set like cargo. There are countless data sets for you there. He went there, got data sets, built a lot of dashboards, built complex ones. Sales dashboard like 3 or 4, finance dashboards, built for different spaces. And then he was presenting this thing. So even when I wanted to ask questions as the person leading the technical part of the interview, that already caught my attention. Like, this person has done what I expect him to do if he gets his job. So my question was now around validating if he actually did it and if he actually understood the process. And in the process, I understood this guy has had experience with complex data sets, dirty data sets, cleaning, all those things. And then at the end, I was first on the interview panel. One of the guys, when we're done, recommended the guy that had the 7 years experience, like, oh, this guy has this. But to me, I was like, no. For me, for this role, the person I would prefer is this guy with 1 year. And this is why. This guy with sell as he has now, there's a place of experience. If it was a senior role, there's going to be supervising a lot of analysts. Then I don't have problem with bringing him because he might know how to manage other business challenges. However, I need someone that will be a technical lead, that will be able to lead development, build complex systems. So in the first place, I need you to have proved to me that you can do it. So the guy earned a 5 years experience in 1 year by actually doing. So just like it has been said earlier, you can actually volunteer to work on roles. If you don't have something to build on your own, if it's a job that you don't have something to build on your own, volunteer to join a company. Don't pursue money first. Pursue the experience. We are transiting, please. Don't say because I'm talking to someone and I'm saying, yeah, if you cannot pay me 500K or 1 million in Nigeria, for example, I will not even start with you, but you don't have anything to offer yet. Start, do it for free, get the experience. As you are doing, be practicing. While you are searching for the job, you're a software engineer, be building software. Let an employer reach out to your GitHub and they already see the software they want. Something similar to what you want to build if you join the company. Then you have the experience already. So I think that works too. So again, a recap of that one, use leverage on the 3 other pillars to cater for the pillar where you are missing from. So, leverage on your knowledge, on building knowledge, doing trainings, short certifications, enrolling courses. There are a lot of training companies in Nigeria today that does all this, There are a lot of trainings, and then enroll in these trainings to build the skills. Be sure you can do these things. Do practice, build the skills, then ensure you have the personal qualities required. Your communication skills, your whatever you need, your data analyst do, I cannot communicate, then you might also not be considered for the role in the first place. Then know that you can use that to compensate for the experience. And then secondly, ensure you even have, you can keep building portfolio before you get the role. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Someone said, how do you make yourself unavailable when your manager doesn't get the boundary between personal life and work? How do you make yourself unavailable when your manager doesn't get the boundary between your personal life and work? Would any of our panelists kindly answer this question?
Yeah, okay. So maybe I should answer that because I spoke on that earlier, but other people can also contribute. But basically, okay. Number one thing I would like to say about that is at that point, when your manager does not respect your work-life balance, you still don't have to be rude. That's number one thing we need to state. There are people that believe that, at that point, because they are angry, you can just scatter things. That's one of the ways emotional intelligence is important at workplace, in a way. You won't say because my manager does not respect my time. And then the manager calls you at 6 p.m. and you say, why are you calling me, sir? You shouldn't call me at this time. No. You've already missed it. No, there is a place of, interaction. It's your manager. Number one thing is that don't be too scared that you eyeball every pinpoint inside you alone without speaking it out. Sometimes you will realize that all those problems you've eyeballed inside yourself that is giving you a day, there's actually an easy solution to them. But because you are not speaking up, your manager cannot be a messiah that will read your mind. So you need to actually, a first approach is one, you can schedule one-on-one with your manager to start with, schedule one-on-one with him, try to let him understand the dynamics of things. I'm sure we appreciate the fact that you've been over available in the past. You could let him know that, yeah, you usually take up 20 tasks in the past, monthly, because, you were not so engaged on weekends, on days, so you felt you could give your best to the company, and then you were doing that well. But recent, you may not tell him about your personal life, it's not important, except you're willing to. But of recent, you had some engagement on weekends, and that actually required your presence. And then you also realize, you can even tell your manager that you also realize that your work-life balance is becoming so bad, and you are becoming mentally stressed in a way when you try to work all through the week. So you feel based on the 8 hours daily, you may not be able to meet up with 20 tasks, especially because you've tried in the last 1 month and you realize it didn't actually deliver results for you and the company. And no company also wants someone that will be taking tasks and not be delivering it, because that's like creating results for the team. So let him understand this and let him know that for now, you will like to take weekends off as a personal time, except if it's an urgent, a very urgent issue that can impact the work. So if it's things that can wait till Monday, you would like to do it during the weekdays and in a way. But remember, when you are saying this, there's a polite way to say something. Yoruba would say it's good word that brings kola nut out of the pocket, and it's also good words that bring cutlass out of it. It's also words, sorry. It's words that bring cutlass out of the pocket, but it's also the same words that brings kola nut out of the pocket. There are some things you would say, the way you say it, someone will just reach out and give you kola nut. Kola nut in Yoruba means like, I'm trying to give you kudos, like take. Right? There are some that you would say and then they will bring out cutlass, they want to kill you. So when you are speaking to your manager, be respectful. Learn to state your point of view in a respective manner. But if you still feel it's overbearing and then it's affecting your mental health and then you are not getting things, you don't need to keep stressing yourself. Resignation is also the next thing. Yes, there are some points you can get to and you see the job is stressing mentally and you get a new role. You also want to talk to your HR team. Trust me, HR people are wonderful. I don't know if you have a HR team on this call, HR, anybody doing HR on this call. They are wonderful people. They understand you. They think from your angle more than they think from any other person. When you speak to your HR, even if you tell them to make it like, there are ways, there are some problems you will have. When you talk to the HR BP in your team, they will give you a way to approach it that you feel like, wow. So they can actually meet your manager and try to solve this without you knowing. For example, they can just release one policy and say, for now, we want to make sure that our staff don't work on weekends except when required. But in a way, they've not mentioned your name. So, you can reach out to the HR BP in the team, make it look like you are not reporting your boss, but you're trying to see how it can help you as the counselor, as the person responsible for you, for like the mental health of our staff. And I'm sure you find a resolution. But if at the end of the day, if you don't find a resolution in all those things, your line manager is not doing well, your HR manager is not doing well, you also escalate to a more senior management that's like you can have someone you have a relationship with in the senior management, and that's still not being resolved, then I can say it's time for you to start looking for some other places.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Semi. So if you have any question, you can kindly raise your hand so you could be giving the audience to ask whichever of our panelists the questions that you want to ask. So also, I have another question here. Someone asked, he said, this question goes, how do you overcome visa requirements barriers when applying for remote jobs? Like, for example, there's some jobs that are remote or hybrid. However, they'll be picking people that are actually living maybe outside of Africa or living in the country of the company. So how can one overcome such visa requirement barrier when trying to apply for remote jobs?
Okay, I guess this pertains to me since yes. I am international hiring. It's a tricky one, to be honest. If you reside in Nigeria, for example, and you don't have like dual citizenship, I will tell you categorically that most times when you send in your CV, it's to be rejected because you are not in the countries that they are looking to hire from. So like my other fellow speakers had mentioned, when applying, you need to be very strategic and intentional. You need to know if this company you're applying to can actually hire you in the country where you reside. Failure to do this, then I think you're wasting your time and you're also wasting the recruiter's time. I have applied to jobs in the past where at the end of the whole review process, you're like, oh, great profile, great everything, but sorry, we cannot hire you in Nigeria. Like I said, there are a lot of factors that can pertain to this. Now, in terms of visa, I think that would now be like a personal effort. And there's sometimes you get companies who are willing to sponsor the visa. So you also want to do your research in that front. Companies like Klarna, KLARNA, it's a company in Europe that supports visas if you get their own job. So there are companies like that. They don't mind you interviewing from any country like Nigeria, but once you get the job, if you're the best fit for the job, they would handle your visa requirements. So if you want to tackle that front, I just believe you should be very strategic about companies you apply to, and you won't have the visa as a big issue.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ebukun. Another question here, I think this will also be going to you, is what are the prerequisites to be a highly efficient and well-paid remote worker? Also, can I maintain my remote job if I relocate out of the country?
Okay, the answer to the second question is yes. If your employers are aware that you're relocating, right? Because there are some employment risk in working in another country where you don't have work permits. So you don't want to put your employers at risk, for such misclassification, as they call it. So you might be working there as a contractor, right? Meanwhile, you should be working as a full-time employee. So these are different terminologies that a lot of remote companies are very keen on. And when they hire in Nigeria and they don't own entities, most times they hire you as a contractor, meaning that you are responsible for paying your taxes, your health insurance, and whatnot, right? So I would say to the second question, sorry, I lost my school of thoughts there. What was the first question?
That's fine.
Yeah.
Like, what are the prerequisites to be a highly efficient and well-paid?
Oh, highly efficient. Yeah. Okay. So back to that, I would say you need to have 5 key values. The first one is excellence. You must be very excellent at what you do. Good support for your colleagues, collaboration. You must put yourself out there. The second would be kindness, like one of my fellow speakers mentioned. The way you speak to people really, really goes a great deal to maintaining some remote jobs. You don't know who is who. There's some people that like to be referred in him, some she, are, right? Some in they. So you don't know who is who. So you have to be very careful about how you speak to people. In my own company, we try to avoid the word guy. Hi guys, it's a normal trend.
Okay.
But some people are not guys, right? So
that can be tricky.
Yeah, so kindness in the way you relate with your colleagues also goes a great deal. And I would say ownership. So if you are the operations manager in your company working remotely, you must take that as your own personal business. So you go all out to ensure it works. So you're not just doing the job, you own the product, you own the role. That way, there is no one that will tell you tomorrow that, we don't want you, because you're offering value. When you offer value to your company, for example, at Bolt, I was the business sales development manager for Nigerian market, and I had no business with data, but we had a dashboard at the time, and everything that you need to know about Bolt, number of rides, the growth rates, everything, companies doing well, all of that. I had access to it, and I was so passionate about seeing data. Not just seeing the data, also interpreting it and be able to form strategies, to inform our future growth. And because of this, I invested more time in learning about data, that even when the new country managers came into Bolt, I was the go-to person. We had a data analyst, right? But everyone knows IBK as a data guy, because IBK would always not just give you data, but interpret what this data is. So carve a niche for yourself within your company. And I can tell you for certain that you will grow, and you don't necessarily need to grow in the part that you feel that is deemed to you. But what your manager will advise you is that, okay, for example, this data is good. Why not consider a part in data as an example? So carve a niche for yourself and you'll be good. I have 2 more points here. I think transparency. Transparency is very key. Collaboration. When something is not going well, I think one of the fellow speakers mentioned that, be open about it, voice out. Like, I have a very terrible back pain. That's why I'm not using my work chair, right? And I told my managers, like, hey, I'm not working for 2 days. And there's nothing about it, right? It's as simple as that. Be open about, because I can't work with the back pain. Transparency is good. If something works for you, share with the team. And that's also building your own brand, right? So you have a best practice, something has worked for you, you want others to benefit from it, that's transparency. You tried something and it failed, and you want others to learn from your lesson, be open about it. So these are the ways you can also build your brand within, the ecosystem of your company. And, ambition is also very good, to achieve great things. to achieve hard things, you need to be ambitious. You can't just settle for, what you are currently enjoying. Seek more, go for more, reach out to, in fact, the co-founder of your company, ask him, how did he go about doing this? Reach out to, your top managers, be open about these things. And I can tell you that these 5 key values will be very, very important in how well you're able to sustain a remote role.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ebukun. Would our panelists have like last words for everyone, like a go-to word that they can remember that will sink into their minds whenever they're thinking of remote jobs, trying to get a remote job, anything? Any last words for our audience, please?
Okay, you want me to start? I think
it could be a phrase. It could be just one word.
So I would just say it's all about the basics. Honestly speaking, it's all about the basics. So think back to what everyone has mentioned, to your CV, to your searching for the jobs, being strategic, to the interview processes, setting up your camera right, voicing out properly, keeping the job with the values I just mentioned. It's all about the basics. And once you follow the rules, right, and be flexible, you would be able to attain, get a remote job and keep the job.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ebukun. Yes.
Okay, so for me, I'll just say, don't stop trying, don't give up. You're going to get a lot of rejections, a lot of no's, but don't stop, just continue, don't give up.
Thank you very much. From Mr. Femi, any last words?
All right, it's just like take into consideration everything we've talked about, then always be prepared. Always be prepared, for whatever, at every stage of the application process. Ensure you're always prepared. At the stage of application, you have your CV. At the stage of interview, you have everything ready. At the stage of, you're always prepared. And then I believe in you. You will get there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ashley, do you have any last words for our audience?
I'm going to go with the word I've been using so far, being intentional about whatever you're doing. So once you put yourself to a task, it shouldn't be you should go in with your best foot. So being intentional about whatever you're doing, applications, once you get the job, if you're doing it, you should tell yourself you're doing it well. That's what I live by.
Thank you very much. So from all our panelists that said, 1, be intentional. 2, you will be getting a lot of rejection, but doesn't mean you should relent, work at it, and you will get there. 3, make sure you put yourself in a position, and then the skills, the requirements, everything needed to be able to put yourself at an advantage in gaining that dream job. Thank you very much. So we've come to the end of our live Q&A session, and we'll be closing. We'll be calling calling Abisola to do a closing remark as we come to the end of this program. Abisola.
Hi everyone. I hope you can all see me. Let me check. Okay. Hi everyone. Thank you so much everyone for attending this session. I hope that you were blessed. Sorry. Okay, but I really hope that you really learned 1 or 2 things from this session. And I want to say something that ensure that you connect with everyone. If they don't connect with you, connect with them. I have been trying to connect with, although I didn't drop my link, I think I have connected with most people that are on this call. So don't just wait for them to be the one to press that connection button, that link. You can just take your time, go to each of the link, click on it, connect with them. That's how you build. It's not necessary for them to be the one to initiate the first connection. And if I were you, right, I would also take that link. I would connect with the speakers, especially some of the speakers that that they really spoke 1 or 2 things directly to you. So that you can ensure that you follow through, and at the end of the day, you don't miss 1 or 2 things, right? So please click that connection button, connect with somebody new today. And that being said, also ensure that you connect with TOC. Don't leave this place without connecting with us. I've already mentioned at the beginning of this session, some of us didn't follow through or join us from the beginning. We plan to have many more events that would be as enlightening and value focused as this, and we don't want you to miss out, right? We would be bringing, this is a quarterly event, so this is one of, it's going to be consistent. So please, I think the team has dropped the link. Okay, they've not dropped the link, but they will drop the link right now. So please, Ajibola or Abisoye, kindly drop the link to TOC's LinkedIn and Instagram page. So please, guys, follow us on LinkedIn, follow us on Instagram. Ensure that you don't leave this meeting without connecting with us. And that being said, the final thing that I am really going to say about this event is ensure that you also help us so that we can do better, know how this event was for you, and so that when we are planning our next event, we can do something that can really solve that need that you are actually looking to be answered, right? So please help us fill the feedback. And I'm sure that the speakers are looking forward to your feedback. They want to know how the event was for you. Just tell us what part spoke to you. Is this something Ashley said? Is this something Femi said? Is this something Ibukun said? Is this something Adejumobi said? So please, guys, help us fill the feedback in. And finally, I'm going to say thank you so much to all our speakers. Honestly, I'll use my slang again. I was blessed. I felt like this event was fully value focused, right? A bit of vibes here and there, but yeah, it was that. Thank you once again. Have a great night. Have a great day, rather. Yeah. Please help us fill the feedback link.